Hi everyone, I'm 13 News Now meteorologist Rochelle here with your afternoon evening update for July 4th, 2021, continuing to track Tropical Storm Elsa. So here's a look at your tropical headlines. We are looking at pretty much an imminent landfall for Elsa somewhere in Cuba, and that forward movement has actually slowed down, pretty much cut itself in half from the fastest that we were watching it move on Friday and even parts of Saturday as well. And we'll take a look at the numbers coming up in just a second. Tropical storm and storm surge alerts are in place right now for parts of the United States. Those storm surge alerts right now only in place for Florida, and we'll take a look at those in just a second. Do want to get to the tropical alerts. There's also a hurricane watch in place for parts of Cuba, but the tropical storm warning is of higher imminency and urgency, so that's why you're not seeing that hurricane watch, but just know parts of Cuba are under a hurricane watch right now. Other than that, tropical storm watches and warnings in place for multiple countries, multiple areas. You're seeing the tropical storm watch in place now for western parts of Florida that was just issued with the 5 p.m. advisory, and that's the information we're looking at right now. Parts of the Cayman Islands, also parts of Cuba under a tropical storm watch, and everywhere you're seeing an orange, including parts of the Florida Keys, now under a tropical storm warning, and we'll keep an eye on those as we go through the next couple of days. Probably going to see some of these changing, shifting a little farther north as we get a better idea of what Elsa is going to be doing and where it's going to be moving. Here's a look at those storm surge watches again, just for the western coast of Florida at this point. You're seeing Tampa, Sarasota, Fort Myers, also up towards Cedar Key in Florida, all under a storm surge watch. We could see multiple feet of storm surge as Elsa moves toward those areas within the next couple of days. So current with that 5 p.m. advisory, 15 miles west of Cabo Cruz in Cuba, 60-mile-an-hour winds. Movement northwest now at 14 miles an hour versus more of a westerly movement. Now it's moving northwest, 14 miles an hour. And we were seeing the storm move upwards of 30 miles an hour just a couple of days ago. Pressure now up to 1,009 millibars. So taking a look at the wind history of Elsa, you do see those 75-mile-an-hour winds through Saturday morning, dropping down to tropical storm status with 70-mile-an-hour winds, still strong tropical storm. And we've seen a gradual weakening trend over the past day or so with Elsa, so we'll continue to watch. There is a chance that we could see some strengthening before we have that landfall somewhere on Cuba. Temperatures in the waters are very, very warm, and we'll also take a look at that in just a bit. Spaghetti plots, still really good agreement, similar to what we saw yesterday evening. A lot of those models keeping the center of Elsa. Remember, we can have those impacts well away from the center, so keeping the center of the storm on land, which would also promote more weakening as we go into the middle to late parts of this upcoming week. 5 p.m. advisory, as mentioned, 15 miles west of Cabo Cruz in Cuba. That is the center of the storm, but many other areas are seeing impacts from this system, including Jamaica and also the Cayman Islands, where again there is a tropical storm watch in effect there. 70-mile-an-hour gusts, 60-mile-an-hour sustained winds. So as we go through the next 24 or so hours, as I mentioned, there was a slight chance for some strengthening as it moves over the open waters. You're seeing 2 a.m. projected to be at 65 miles an hour, moving over land. Land typically weakens these systems, but it's going to move back over open waters, possibly again a chance for some strengthening there before it makes landfall in Florida. Stopping it here at 2 p.m. We do have the system now down to a tropical depression as it moves over land, staying as a tropical depression as it skirts up the southeastern coast of the United States, eventually moving back over the open waters. But by Friday, this is something that's a little new within the last day or so. We're going to be watching potential impacts from a tropical storm potentially for areas of southern New England, including Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, very popular vacation spots for the summertime. So something that anyone who might have a trip to Cape Cod late next week or for next weekend might want to be keeping an eye on Elsa as well. So factors in play very similar to what we had yesterday. Land interaction will weaken Elsa as it moves over Cuba and as it moves over land. If the center of the storm stays over land once it makes landfall in Florida, there's still a chance the center of that storm could kind of move more into the open waters, which will keep more of a strengthening trend, or at least sustaining the strength that Elsa would have if that were to happen. Also, some wind shear out there would weaken that system. Wind shear, change of wind direction or wind speed as you go higher up in the atmosphere from the sea surface or the land surface if the storm is over land to higher up in the atmosphere. But we still do have sea surface temperatures that are very warm, low to mid 80s, and that's even the same off of the coast of the southeastern United States. Temperatures in the waters not too much cooler than they are in the Caribbean Sea right now. Infrared satellite, this does show you the tops of the cloud tops, and some of the colors that you're seeing here, some of those deep burgundies into those bright purples, that's indicating some of those higher cloud tops, more of that convection, thunderstorm activity. So we're seeing some of that with Elsa, but you're also seeing still that counterclockwise rotation that is evident of low pressure systems, which tropical storms and hurricanes are areas of low pressure. Typically might be a little bit more organized than Elsa, but you can still see that this is a distinctly low pressure system that is affecting, again, not just where the center is. You're seeing into central Cuba, the Cayman Islands right over here, Jamaica, and even some of Haiti, just extreme western Haiti, still dealing with some cloud cover, maybe some rain from Elsa. Switching over to the water vapor view, if we had dry air in place around Elsa, it would show tan, but right now we don't have much of it. Just a lot of moist air for Elsa to feed on, and if we did have some dry air, that would be another limiting factor because tropical systems, dry air, they don't really mix. It's like oil and water. When they get some dry air into those tropical systems, it kind of is detrimental. Well, it is detrimental to those systems, but not the case with Elsa. Switching over here to the sea surface temperatures, just to show you that things are still sustained with those sea surface temperatures in the mid-80s, well above that threshold of 80 degrees Fahrenheit that these systems would need to at least sustain their strength. So Elsa has that and also the lack of dry air working in its favor, but it does have a little bit of some wind shear out there, and we'll take a look at that in just a couple of seconds. Just want to show you on the projected path the sea surface temperatures. You're seeing still mid-80s by the Florida Keys. We're still into the mid-80s into the western coast of Florida. Those waters just off the western coast of Florida. Again, expecting a landfall somewhere in Florida within the next couple of days. And then water temperatures, sea surface temperatures just off the southeastern United States, low to mid-80s, even just off of like Hatteras into the North Carolina Outer Banks. But once you get a little bit higher off of the Delaware, Maryland, Eastern Shore, those temperatures are into the mid-70s. So a little bit cooler than what these systems would like if they want to keep their strength or strengthen. Taking a look now at the wind shear, anywhere you're seeing a little bit of some blue or even those green colors well into northern Virginia and just off of the coast of Virginia and the Delmarva as well. That's where we're seeing those areas of wind shear that would inhibit strengthening for Elsa. So we're keeping an eye on that. You're seeing some blue here into northern Florida, just off South Carolina coast and also off of the coast of North Carolina. But then we look down towards Cuba, into western Cuba and also eastern Cuba as well. A little bit of that wind shear showing up as well. So that's going to put up a little bit of a fight for Elsa as it moves through Cuba. Probability of 40-mile-an-hour winds, that would indicate that tropical storm force winds, that bottom threshold for tropical storm force winds. We do see 40 to 60% chance plus as we look towards western Florida, and then we see things really dropping off as we go into southern Georgia, up through the Carolinas, Virginia, and the Delmarva as well. But remember that forecasted path does have it as a tropical depression into the middle to late part of next week before it moves back over those open waters. So rainfall forecast, looking through the southeastern United States right here, you do see some numbers, 3, 4, upwards of 5 inches of rain in some of these areas down into Florida. And you're also seeing some pretty high numbers into Myrtle Beach, Wilmington, North Carolina. That's where you're seeing any of these yellows from really the southern part of the Outer Banks in North Carolina down through the coast of South Carolina. We're keeping an eye on some of those potentially higher rain totals. Now, depends again on the track of Elsa, where Elsa is going to move. These numbers could shift a little bit more. Virginia Beach could possibly get a little bit more rainfall than a quarter of an inch between now and Friday night. Again, we're keeping an eye on that track of Elsa. So taking a look here again, we're watching for that imminent landfall of Elsa on Cuba. But other than that, the tropics are quiet out there. So if you're interested, thank you for watching. Definitely want to thank everyone who's been keeping an eye on our videos over the past week or so. If you want to find me over on Twitter, that's where I'm the most active, _Rochelle TV. I also post updates, so I'll be posting the 8 p.m. update as well. If you're interested in that, if there are any big changes, I'll be able to post that over on Twitter. So I want to thank everyone for watching. Make sure you're subscribed to us here on 13 News Now YouTube channel. And for those of you who are in the path of Elsa, thank you for trusting us with your forecast and trusting us for us to provide the information that you'll need to make those decisions and to stay safe.